Hello, everyone, and welcome to Theory into Practice. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm actually very excited because I actually am reconnecting with a very long-time colleague of mine on the show. I've been asking him to come on my podcast for a while. He's blowing me off, but I finally got him here. Eric Self is joining me today. Eric is actually not only a friend, but he was a colleague of mine for a long time. We met at Fresno Pacific University, which is where I cut my teeth in emergency management. I started in educational law enforcement. I worked there for the Fresno Pacific University campus safety program. And I recruited Eric at the time to be on our emergency management team. And he was a huge asset to the team, but he really embraced emergency management. And now he is working in a area of continuity that I find is very important. And he has actually become quite the expert on continuity of operations in higher education, but in general. He embraced it at FPU after my departure, and now he has actually left FPU and is working with Koali Inc. With the continuity of operations software, which I have to say is a very amazing software. So Eric, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dan. I know I've been blowing you off, but the wife makes me do other things, so she gets precedent over you for the most part.
Well, she'll enjoy hearing that in the recording because I'm not editing that out.
And also, for everybody watching this, I kind of got to say that if it wasn't for Dan, this is in a roundabout way, if it wasn't for Dan, I would not have met my wife. So the story behind that is I met my wife when we both worked at FPU, and when Dan was making this team and putting it together, he actually reached out to my wife as well. So because of this team that he put together, and a lot of crazy things that happened that caused us to get to know each other, and that was also his fault. So he puts the team together. I barely meet her in this room, and he says, "Hey, come. We're set to go do our training. We're going to EMI. We're going to do some. What were we doing there? The EOP, right? We were
learning how to do EOP management plan for education. Yep.
Yeah, so we're doing this EOP for the school because it didn't have one, and he gives me advice, and I take a lot of his advice, to heart, and I say, "What time should I show up at the airport?" He says, "Well, it's a Fresno airport. It's small. Just make sure you're there an hour in advance, and you'll be fine. You just blow through the TSA and get in there." So that's what we did. So there was a group of us that showed up an hour before our flight. It was early in the morning, and lo and behold, the TSA line was broken. One of the machines was broken, and the line was wrapped around the building. Well, what had happened is a few people, I believe Dan was one of them. Wait, did you also miss it? You did, huh?
I did not miss that flight.
No. Oh, so he gives me advice that he shows up earlier. There's a few other people that were on like priority, so they didn't have to really go through the whole TSA. So long story short, we missed our flight, and we had a training that very next day in Maryland, and so through a lot of, I would say, airports and long drives and just waiting around in all these different airports, we kind of just got to know one another, and that's basically how our relationship started. So thank you, Dan, for giving me that really bad advice on when to show up at an airport. For all of you that's never flown, make sure you show up 2 hours before you get to an airport.
Actually, I remember the details a little bit more, a little bit better now. I was not on that trip. We broke our team up into 2 trips. Remember, I was on the first trip. You were on the second trip. So I can't take credit for that. But I did tell you to get there an hour early because that's when I got there. But I was on the first trip with the first half of our team, and you were on the second part of the trip with the second half of the team, both attending the same class. But obviously, for continuity, we couldn't all go at the same time. So that's an important part of that story as well. So as you said, I kind of in a roundabout way introduced you and got you together with Kim, and you are now married, happily married. I was at the wedding, and I am more happy for you than most others. And I appreciate you contributing a little bit of that to me, even though I'm missing the planes. But let's move a little bit forward, and let's talk about what you're doing now. Ultimately, in emergency management, you embrace emergency management more than most did, and you, in a way, really helped move the emergency management team and the program forward after I left and went to another organization. But then you on and around your own ambition, developed your own calling to continue doing it outside and almost full time.
Yeah, so I've been in higher ed for just over 10 years, and I say I've been in higher ed because I'm still there, so because I teach at a community college here, online class. But starting out when Dan picked me, I was just operations. I was the operations guy. I was in charge of one of our regional campuses, and when he said, "Hey, let's do some emergency management stuff," I said, what's it all about?" And I really just fell in love with just all the aspects of it. I love helping people. I love being prepared for sure. And so going through all the different aspects of emergency management and learning, taking all of our courses together, that all that really solidified, my place doing emergency management. So I don't know for everyone else out there, but when you work at a college and you do something and they really like what you do, they make this nice little hat and they give it to you and they put it on your head and they say, "Hey, guess what? You're this guy now. Hey, or you're doing this really well. Can you do that?" And if you guys don't know by now, if in higher ed, the way they make you do that is they say, "We're going to do a committee. We're gonna form a committee." Well, what they're saying is we're going to get you and a whole bunch of people to do stuff, but we're going to call it a committee. And so with that, I started getting into that emergency management and then the business continuity side. As we were doing our looking at all the things throughout the university and looking at all the gaps, business continuity was one of them. And that was that suggestion that we had, like, "Hey, we need some type of continuity of operations." They actually listened to us first time around, and we ended up searching for a software to aid in us putting plans together. And so here with all these colleges, basically what happens is it's like herding cats if you try to get everybody to do everything at the same time. So you got to have some type of an assistant. So we looked around, we did some looking at different softwares, ended up using the Koali software. I loved how easy it was for the average user to use it, and it aided in us putting our plans together and actually having a continuity of operations at the university. So something we could feel good about. So they threw me in that realm, gave me that new hat, and started doing that along with my other duties, of course. And from there, just started learning more and more about continuity of operations and the importance of it. We all know the importance of it, and if you didn't, then now that we've coming through a pandemic, it's really on the minds of people of continuity, because you're either going to be reactive or you're going to be proactive. And so being proactive is having those things done ahead of time in a low stress environment, so that whenever something like this happens, like a pandemic, you're ready and you're prepared instead of just being reactive. So that's how I started working for Koali, and been working there for over a year now. I started off obviously as a client and started creating relationships with the VP and went to a few of their events and did some speaking. And then they kind of moonlighted me, I guess you could say, that they said, "You can work with a lot of colleges and doing business continuity, not just one." And that really got my attention. And so, after about a month of speaking with them, I decided to work for them. So I've been there about a year. Great culture, great company. I love a company that's very transparent, where a CEO tells you everything that's on his mind, and that it's coming from his heart. So love working for the company. That's what I'm doing right now. And and me and Dan right now, we're actually putting tabletop exercises together. Those are really fun as well. We got some other people what Robert's helping us do that as well. So, we're trying to stay busy, but doing the continuity is something I really enjoy.
And so let's talk about real quick. Tell us about what Quality is and how they can help an organization.
So Quality Ready is basically this. It's a SaaS, which is a subscription, and it's basically a software that is specifically designed for colleges and universities. And the reason why that is because it birthed out of a few universities a while back. And so there was a universities that got together. UC Berkeley was one of them that said, "Hey, we want a software that fits our mold. We want to have a really good, like we didn't like these vendor relationships that they currently have, these enterprise softwares. So out of these great ideas became Koali after engineers were put to the task and they started putting this product together. It's been evolving ever since, and I'm looking forward to the next evolution of it. But it basically, is specifically designed. This is for colleges and universities, and the reason why is because that's where it came from, college and universities. We didn't come into the space and just decide to sell to college universities. It came from colleges and universities.
So what aspect of the software does really affects the ability to continue with operations if something was to happen?
So whenever I was a client and I was using the software, what I really liked about it, first I said it's the average user could use the software. And the reason why I say that is because we had guidance. There's like guidance on every page. It walks you through on every page on what you're supposed to do or what this section's all about, so that the average person can put their continuity plan together and feel good about it. And then also, what I really liked on the reporting side was being proactive. I was able to run reports and see, like, let's say a building there's a fire in a building or something happens to that building. I could go in, I could see what critical functions were in that building and the order of importance, and then I could be proactive and reach out to those people that were in charge of that to see if they had everything they need to continue in that limited capacity during whatever adverse event that we're dealing with.
Awesome. So if someone's listening right now and they're thinking, this is something I want to learn more about and potentially get information on, where can they find you?
Find me at your local Walmart. No, you can find me. My email is just eric.self. It's like just how you hear it, or you see it on the screen here, at Koali, and it's kind of like koala, but it's KUALI, and it's .co, so not com but .co, and that's where you can go to our. You can also go to Koali and go to our website. Anytime you fill out a form or you want to look into something that's continuity related, it's going to come to me. You're going to get me. So love to speak with anybody that's looking on bolstering their continuity efforts, and see if we can help you guys with that process.
Awesome. Well, Eric, this is going to round out our first portion of the episode, and I just thank you for taking the time to share what you're doing, share the company in which you are doing it with, and how you can help others in not only building up themselves as a professional, but in the organizations where they reside, especially if it is higher education and the continuity that goes there. We're going to come back and talk about a leadership segment. We have a lot to discuss there, a very specific conversation we're going to have when it comes to that. But if you are watching, listening to this, and you found value, please like, comment, share, reach out to me, direct message me if you have ideas, if you have content you'd like to see, if you want more information on the show. There'll also be contact information for Eric and Koali inside the show notes. And for all those who are listening, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm Dan Scott, and I will talk to you next time.